Good evening and welcome to episode 41 of the Vegan Hour. And tonight I'm joined by Joey Carbstrong and Pete the Pig. Welcome along. Welcome along, my friend. Now, I'm just going to make sure that we are actually live. Let's check that this is working. It's not even working up there. Oh, yeah, I think it. Oh, goodness me. Does Harry know what he's doing? Eh?
Harry, you're onto it, mate. You're onto it.
Does he know what he's doing? Let's see how we look. All right, we are there. Evening, Michael. Thank you for being first off the rank there. Okay, let's just get through the events, what we've got coming up this weekend, and then we can get into tonight's show. And we're looking at a great show tonight with lots of questions. Wow, they're already. Shane says, thought that was a real piglet. And Summer says, hey Joey, it's all happening. So, okay, this Saturday, two events I want to mention. We've got the Loving Hut buffet Christmas lunch from 11:30 a.m. at Mount Cravat. So if you're in Brisbane, go along. Love their food. And also, if you're down here on the Gold Coast, 5 p.m. New South Wales time, the Vegan Aisle Vegan Supermarket has a cooking class for only $15. That's this Saturday, and I'm watching the hi Kim and hi Natasha. I'm watching the comments as I'm saying all this. Sunday, Love Child Vegan Markets at Mermaid Beach, 5 p.m. It's a night market this time. And hey, Elle, how are you? Great to see you. And Clive, and wow, it's all happening. And one more event, which is, oh, God, you're going through them quick. This one here, it's Vitamix. Oh boy, Vitamix that you can win in January the 7th, Sunday, January the 7th, for the second Froth Fest, starting at 12 noon at Miami Marquetta. Tickets are available from next week. Okay, that's got that out of the road. And Brett says, woo, thanks, Harry. It's going to be great. Yes, Brett is from Vegan Isle. He's the owner of Vegan Isle. So just big shout out to Vegan Isle. Have you, just while we're talking about it, have you had a chance to see our first Gold Coast vegan supermarket?
No, I do need to. Though.
You and Pete the Pig need to get out more often.
That's
now,
right.
We're going to. Pete's been very vocal since before we started the live stream tonight, so we're just hoping he's just going to.
He's a bit shy.
Yeah, he's a little bit quiet at the moment. Okay, so I want to start off tonight with maybe just a little introduction about who you are and what you're about. So can we, for people that maybe don't know a little about you, because I know it's hard to believe.
Mate, if you don't know me, I'm pretty offended. No, I'm joking. All right, so I'm Joey Carbstrong. I'm a YouTuber, animal liberation activist. I'm also an ex-gang member, and I spent many years of my life down the wrong track, and I had an epiphany when I was put in prison after a long time messing around, and I turned my life around, got out of prison, went vegan, and from that point onwards, I couldn't stop speaking out for animals.
So how long ago was this when you went vegan?
I went vegan about 4 years ago.
Excellent. So you had an epiphany when you were in prison. And from that point, you're like, can you expand on the epiphany, maybe?
Okay, so what ended up happening is that when I was imprisoned, it was the longest I'd been sober for 12 years. So I'd never seen things with the clarity of mind that I did while I was in there. And I had a bird's eye view of all the mistakes I'd made in my past. And I'd seen that it led me to there. And I looked around and I'd seen all these people that were doing 10 years, 5 years, 25 years for mistakes they'd made. I'd seen the gang life and where it led to.
Yep.
And I just had this awareness I hadn't had before.
Wow, that is fantastic. That's certainly a big turnaround, isn't it? Yeah. So you came out of there, you came out of prison a vegan?
No, I came out with, I had awareness and I had the seed planted while I was on home detention. So I already had the seed planted by a raw foodist who opened up something in my mind about karma, which I was a believer of. Yeah, so said if you eat suffering and death, it manifests as disease in your body.
Yes.
And so the seed was planted. I didn't align myself with that until I was sober and I got out of prison and I was on parole.
Yeah.
And one day I was having a conversation with my mum about smoking, criticizing her. And she said there's a lot of vices people have that they don't change. And when she said that, I reflected and I looked inside myself and I said, well, what haven't I changed? And the hypocrisy of living non-vegan got to me.
Yes. Wow. Now there's some comments. What about Pete? Pete's always been vegan?
Pete's always been vegan and he's happy that I'm vegan.
That's excellent. Yeah. He's very well behaved.
He is.
Ella says, hey, handsome ones. Now, Ella makes a good comment there. I've got a past too, what we all do. What matters is the future.
every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
Oh, lovely. That's brilliant. Summer says, you have been one of my biggest inspirations to be sober. That is fantastic.
Proud of you, because it's very hard in this world to, you know,
that's a good point.
stay strong.
That's actually a good point. Are you saying that because there's a lot of distractions? There's always a lot of temptations.
Social pressure. You know, you have to
Yes.
change your social settings. You have to be very strong.
That's true. Also, your peer group.
Peer group, all that stuff. I let go of it all though. Just see you later.
So you got a new group of friends, vegan supporters.
It was very hard though. The first year was the hardest. I had to learn to retrain, reintegrate into society, learn how to communicate sober. I was very anxious because I had left my gang behind, and I was on my own then. And I had, I spent a lot of time by myself, and I suffered a lot of anxiety and trauma from the things that had happened beforehand. So it was a very long process of healing.
Wow. I'll get to a couple of questions and I'll come back to that. Steve.
Best decision I ever made though.
No doubt.
By far.
No doubt, obviously.
Nothing comes close.
No, that's exactly.
If I wasn't sober, I wouldn't have went vegan. So being sober and having clarity.
The best decision, yes. Well, Shai asks, is it a book you read that inspired that change? But it wasn't.
No, I was an aware type of person.
Yes, so
I was already an aware person, but I was clouded by drugs and alcohol and the wrong people, wrong environment. And then when I sobered up, I had the clarity and aligned myself.
I love it. So it happens automatically, doesn't it? When you sober up, that's brilliant.
All happened for a
Christina
reason.
says you're a wizard with words. Love you, and sorry, Christina, missed the rest. I've got to be quick with these tonight because they're coming through really quick. Erica says your YouTubes are ace.
Ace, I like the sound of that.
That sounds pretty good. Hello from Melbourne. Kim says, what is your definition of a vegan?
Someone who doesn't exploit animals for any reason, as far as practically possible.
I couldn't have said that any better. Couldn't have said that any better.
So it's about ending animal use. Animal slavery.
Doing the best we can with the awareness we have.
Yeah, I'm not a welfarist. I don't believe in animal welfare. I believe in ending animal use. So abolishing it altogether.
Yes. So having said that, Pete's getting a bit more active, I see. Having said that, with abolishing animal use, do you believe in it being some people say kid steps and others say just a couple of lines.
With that, I would never tell someone to take baby steps. I would talk about veganism.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say this is why you should be vegan. Vegetarian's a great step in the right direction, but we still exploit these animals in these industries, and veganism is what I would always advocate for. Now, if they take baby steps because I told them to go vegan, that's their choice. They're going to take baby steps anyway.
Yes.
But you should never advocate for baby steps, because that person could have the potential to go vegan and you've just told them to take baby steps. Now, why? You tell someone to go vegan and they do meatless Mondays. Well, you've told them to go vegan. They should never do meatless Mondays because a vegan activist has told them, because that is betraying the animals.
Yeah, brilliant. That is brilliant. Wow.
And we don't want to do that. Pete would not be impressed.
Pete would not be impressed. Are we born vegan? Kim asks.
Are we born vegan?
Are we born vegan? Yeah.
I think it's an innate quality of humans to be compassionate to living beings, and it's something that is conditioned into us. Violence is conditioned into us. It's not inherent, because if you see a piglet, you want to pat the piglet. But if a lion saw a piglet, their instinct is to eat the piglet. We're not instinctually violent people. We've just been culturally conditioned. So yeah, I think we are born vegan, obviously, anatomically.
Amber says she loves the change in video style. I don't like the durian rider thing you had going on before. Good. Walter says, so nice to see you two together. I met Joey in Melbourne a couple of months ago on the Dairy Day. Good job you both do for the animals. And a great comment there from Steve. Boom. Now,
the Dairy Day. Should we get into the Dairy Day?
Please. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Animal Liberation Queensland, were involved in a slaughterhouse shutdown. There was an issue of ill treatment to a bobby calf before slaughter. The bobby calf was stomped, so the activists chained themselves essentially up to the slaughterhouse.
This was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this slaughterhouse is known for killing spent dairy cows and bobby calves. So, but it had other animals there too: pigs, sheep, other medium-sized animals.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a very successful day, meaning that 3 news channels were reported it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a viral video out of it, which reached a lot of people.
Yeah.
TV interviews, so it created a lot of awareness about dairy industry and about animals, and so it was a success.
Definitely. I don't think. What was the actual reaction of that from the abattoir itself? I mean, any feedback or response from them at all? Or?
I think the workers at the abattoir are obviously always going to be upset and not understand. The thing is, it's not really. Look, the person who stomped the calf, they are responsible for that action.
Yeah.
But it is because he's a product of a sick society that puts him in a workplace like that in the first place, because we demand animal products. This human being should not be in those conditions of violence anyway.
That's a good point, isn't it?
You know,
no, that's
so
really.
Society is responsible for this man having to be in an environment which makes him violent.
In relation to that, Ella asks, did the guy get fired? We don't. I don't think there's any knowledge.
I'm not sure about that. The point is, stabbing the animal, bolt gunning the animal in the head is not much different to stomping the animal before he was killed. So it's a sick society, it's a bad environment. A slaughterhouse, nothing moral happens in there anyway, where the cows are getting stomped, stabbed, or bolt gunned. So it's just about, the day was about creating the awareness, I think.
There are people asking you to say boom and juicy.
GSA.
I haven't heard you say either of them, so I'm sorry about that. Question from Kim. She's a little bit confused. It's disappeared there, but she was confused about previously you had said that you didn't think people were born vegan, and I think that was probably a misunderstanding or something.
I never said that. I don't think I said that. Maybe I did. I can't remember. I wouldn't.
Oh, not tonight. On a previous.
I can't remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay. Now Amanda has shared a link there for Ditch Dairy: The Truth Behind Queensland's Dairy Industry. Is that the one where there's a video where you're speaking out the front of the abattoir? I think from last week.
Is who's Ditch Dairy?
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. Okay. Now Rick asks, great to see true vegan activists as opposed to vegan frauds who troll vegans and hide behind their computers. Oh, Rick.
I don't think we'll get into any of that.
Rick,
come on, guys. Let's keep this about the animals here.
Let's keep this about the animals. Let's not bog this down in unnecessary.
You know, it's pretty much irrelevant to what really matters. I mean, there's always going to be, you know, people saying stuff and not disingenuous people. But I think what you do is be a shining example and inspire people to better their ways.
Yes.
I think, and that's what I like to do. I don't get caught up in it publicly. Make videos feeding the beast. I like to just be a walking, shining inspiration on how to conduct ourselves as activists and, you know, change the world.
Now, Brian says, in relation to the abattoir, the owner said he doesn't see anything wrong with the stomping, and he wanted to know who filmed it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the manager didn't see anything wrong with it. Of course, the manager is conditioned to horrific violence.
Yes.
It's what's stomping a calf when they're stabbing animals all day, you know? And they were more worried about who filmed it because, you know, they wanted to, you know, justice for the person who filmed this act of cruelty.
They maybe wanted to look at pressing charges maybe or something like that. But yeah. Okay. Elle says, so much respect for you, Joey. I admire how you're able to speak out with such conviction. You have such courage. You inspire me. That's very nice.
Thanks, Elle.
We do have Kim asking if you could share your strategy.
What strategy?
What strategy? Yeah. April says, top tips on how to be the best activist possible.
Top tips? Okay. Now, to be a good activist, you have to build conviction in your heart. So understanding what the animals are going through on a deeper level, so you can speak with conviction. You have to know why you're doing something. To be passionate, you need to, you know, reinforce and galvanize the reasons why you want to speak out. That will make you a good activist. And leave fear behind you. And I'm not talking about, you know, having no fear in your tummy at all, because you're always going to have a bit of fear.
Yeah.
But gradually stepping outside your comfort zone is going to quieten that fear. And I think having perspective, like what the animals are going through, will really help you too.
So in other words, knowing what you're doing it for will push you through that fear.
Yeah, and having perspective, like, hey, that little bit of anxiety that I have in my stomach is nothing compared to what these pigs are going through in the farms.
Yes, yeah. So Ella says, what do I tell my mum who asks why vegans like fake meat? My answer was not good enough for her. Why vegans like fake meat? It's a good transition.
Okay, the thing is, like, we've had a certain texture and taste and flavour in our mouths since we were children. Okay, we've been fed animal products since we were a child. Now, it's a great transitional food to mimic that texture and flavour without causing the suffering and death of animals. So it's a win-win. I mean,
as long as you don't eat it every day.
Well, it's not, well, from a health perspective, we could argue certain things, but it still doesn't contain saturated fat or cholesterol.
Yes.
So.
Okay, good point, good point. Brian says, practice what we preach. If we expect people to be compassionate towards animals, we must be compassionate towards them. Exactly, Brian, because we're all on the same team. Yeah. Big comment there from Sonia. Sorry, Sonia, it went too quick. Sorry. The comments
wait, you can't go back?
No.
Wow.
Not on the screen. So, Sonia, you might have to reshare your comment because one of the limitations of reading the comments on the computer is that I cannot scroll back to them. I'm sorry. Kim was asking about your strategy of preaching to the cops before, and Joey said...
I'm going to address Kim because she's going to keep going with that. Okay, now, what happened is Kim commented on one of my videos about when I was sharing some information to a police officer who was called to a projection where we were projecting the egg industry onto a bridge.
Oh, okay.
And the police officer had gotten calls from the restaurant saying it was offensive.
Right.
I said to the police officer, well, what's more offensive, them paying for it to happen to the chicks or us trying to stop the cruelty?
Yeah.
Now, Kim voiced her opinion, said that I'm constantly talking to police and they're forced to be there and I'm torturing them.
Right.
She's saying I'm torturing them by forcing them to see slaughterhouse footage or to be educated by me. Now, there's a few things wrong with this. The police at these places aren't vegan.
That's true.
And the reason I'm always talking to police here is because they are the only non-vegans at these events. Okay, so that's why I'm always educating the police. And just because they're a police officer doesn't make them immune to education. And the way I approach police is always positive. It's always polite.
It's
always educational, and it's a Socratic method. Now, to say that I'm torturing these police, and she actually made the statement and said that I'm treating these police like the animals in the slaughterhouses.
Wow.
Okay, now for an animal right, someone who claims to be an animal rights activist, which I'm skeptical of to make that comment, to trivialize the animal's suffering and what happens to an animal in a slaughterhouse by comparing it to positive outreach with a police officer, you know, I personally think that's disgraceful to even compare the two. It's offensive to animals, and I don't even think
well, I think you've explained it really well, and I just say, Kim, that is the explanation, and we want to get to other comments. So
that will be my official statement on that.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's good. Thank you for that.
Pete, do you concur? He concurs.
He concurs. Okay. There's so many comments that I've missed just in your explanation that that's why we've got to sort of keep this tight if we can. If police eat animals, they should see what the animals go through. As Gary Yourofsky said, if it's not good enough for your eyes, then why is it good enough for your stomach? Exactly, Brian. Thank you. Okay, let's just get to some of the positives here. Now, Alyssa says, "You're the best, Joey. Just curious. How you've gone personally with your family and friends?"
This is always the hardest one, Harry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Are they on board with veganism, or are you still working on it?
Now, my family, two of my family members have gone vegan, and the other ones have been profoundly affected by my work.
So two of your family members have gone vegan.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mum and my brother. Now, friends and family are the hardest. Because there's something that they're less likely to listen to you for some reason. They're like, I don't know. Unless you're James Aspey and you can sit your whole family down, they all go vegan with one sentence. That's just not reality. But the thing with friends and family is you have to be a lot more tactful, a lot more strategic, a lot more tiptoeing around it, and you know, placing information here, you know, here, because you know, you can really push, you can create a very uncomfortable environment. Friends and family, workplace is the same.
Yes, workplace is the same too, yes.
So, it's a different strategy than when you're on Anonymous with a voiceless doing vegan outreach.
Yes.
You know, because they stop, they want to hear it. Your friends and family, you know what, Earthling Ed made a very good video, and he said that they can you can give off the vibe of being superior without even saying anything, just because you refuse to participate in eating animals. So your family might feel offended that you refuse to participate in something that they do traditionally.
That's really interesting. You can give off the vibe of appearing superior without even doing anything.
No, just by not eating animals. So they can feel bad, they can be taking it out on you. So yeah.
Okay, Shai says, let's get on the positives. Yeah, love it. Okay, let's keep on the positives. Okay, Stephen says, I like to challenge people by asking them if they eat meat, with every meal, and why do they think that's the right diet for them? That's a good question to ask them. And talking about questions, do you find that you get more response from people by asking them questions and
okay,
what's your approach?
So it's called the Socratic method. Socrates
method.
was a man who taught people by asking questions.
Yes.
Now the reason you ask questions instead of pumping information down someone's throat, because that is good, and I do that, and there's a time and place for that. But when you ask someone a question, it's less intrusive. They don't feel like they're overwhelmed with information, and you got them in the corner, boom, boom, boom. And when you ask them a question, they have a cognitive thought process and they engage. Now, when you're pumping information down into someone, they can switch off, zone out, start thinking, looking around, when's this going to be over? But when you ask them a question, they go, boom.
Yeah.
And then,
so you're saying they think for themselves.
They think for themselves, and based on their response, you ask them another leading question.
Right.
And then what you do is you question them into a corner, and veganism is in that corner.
Brilliant. And I've seen you in action on your videos, and I've just even Pete's impressed. Amy says, I just let my friends and family watch me thrive on a vegan lifestyle. Yeah, excellent. Amy was on the show recently, and she's definitely thrived on a vegan lifestyle.
Excellent, Amy.
Was there an activist that inspired you to become one?
Was there an activist that inspired me to become one?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, when I went vegan, I was a very vocal person. Before I was vegan, I was vocal about my spiritual beliefs and about everything. I've always been a bit of a preacher, a bit of a vocal person.
Okay, excellent.
I've been inspired by multiple people in my life, but I'd have to say, Gary Yourofsky's. He was probably my most inspirational kind of guy. I mean, I love a bit of Gary, but I've been inspired by multiple people.
And following on from that, what are your heroes in life? Well, Gary Yourofsky is one of them.
I admire Gary a lot. There's many animal rights activists and just revolutionaries that I admire.
Socrates, you mentioned earlier.
I didn't even know who he was.
No.
It just come naturally to me. Someone told me it was Socratic method, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll keep doing it then.
Well, it is a method. Yes,
it's a method.
I've heard of it as well. Brian says, if you had to live on one vegan food forever, what would you pick?
That's a hard one. That's one isolated food.
Well, I don't think it's a realistic question, Brian.
Probably purple sweet potatoes, but it's just
Yeah, that's good. Now you mentioned soccer to me, Christina says. Anyway, you mentioned before you went vegan that you were actually vocal. Pete's so active. You were actually vocal. Oh, and Simone says your smoothie bowls. That's what you could live on.
But that's many ingredients in one, I suppose.
Yes, froth bowl. Okay. So you mentioned that you used to preach a bit about your spiritual beliefs. Can we?
Okay, so so when I was around 20, I learned about something called the law of attraction, where you, if you hold a thought or visualize certain things and you have a corresponding feeling, then you become in alignment with that, and then you attract your reality and you create your reality.
Yes.
So I learned that about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But I still attracted a negative reality, but I was aware of it.
Aware of it happening, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I knew that, okay, I'm attracting this.
Yes,
but
it doesn't change overnight.
No, it takes years.
It can take lifetimes.
Well,
which is really scary.
10 years into it, and I still mess up. So,
well, we all do.
And I used to also talk about things about the government that I thought were a bit iffy, I didn't like, and I used to speak out about that a little bit, just with friends and stuff like that. So I was always vocal, I was a critical thinker, philosophical.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, that's good. We want some more really good questions while you've got the opportunity with Joey tonight, because when was the last time you did a live stream?
I haven't done one for a while, eh?
So
lift my game up.
So you guys don't get this opportunity. Big hugs to you from Angel.
Angel!
Thoughts become things. That got a good response. Thoughts become things. Christy mentioned earlier something about give people a copy of the China study to inspire them to go vegan.
Me, I'm not a reader.
Yeah.
If someone gave me the book China Study,
it'd
I
be
probably
too
wouldn't
much.
read it.
Yeah.
Maybe Forks Over Knives or Watch What the Health. They'd probably get the same thing. But
Yeah.
me, book, too big.
Too big.
No,
You
I'd
wouldn't
fall
have the
asleep.
time.
I wouldn't have the time anyway,
Wouldn't
too
have the
busy.
time, would you? That's
Yeah.
right. Good question there from April. How do you manage to cope with slaughterhouse vigils? Now that's a really good question.
Oh, coping with slaughterhouse vigils is very interesting because you might think that you can't, but you will surprise yourself when you're there.
Right.
Okay, and what happens? Something comes over you, and when you see the animals in the truck on the way to be slaughtered, you have a moment of perspective, and you say, "Wow, this isn't about me."
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
and that is how
Yes.
you cope. You say, "I'm not the one suffering here; they are," and it gives you strength, builds conviction, and it is been the single most powerful thing in my activism to experience the animal on the other side of that the truck.
So you're saying it really cements the conviction of why we're vegan
100%.
and what we're.
And then you go do outreach and listen to the conviction in your voice. You've been there, you've seen their suffering, you can speak, and they can feel it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Is there an Australian version of Patreon where the money goes to you without them taking a portion? That's a good question from Lily.
There is PayPal.
Yeah.
There's PayPal for donations. It's linked in my YouTube channel, but yeah, I don't think there is another version of Patreon. Patreon's an amazing platform, but they do take a small percentage. But
Yes. There's a few comments I've missed there. I'm sorry, guys. They're coming through so quick. I never did get your comment, Sonia, because it was really big and I missed it. I'm sorry. It was great seeing you meet Earthling Ed earlier this year.
Love it.
What a team.
Love it. Can't wait to see. I'll be in England Christmas time.
Christmas time.
So me and Ed will be hooking back up.
Okay. It'll be cold.
Can't wait, mate.
It'll-
Those cold slaughterhouse vigils.
Yeah. Okay. This is a big one. I hope it stays on. A couple of. Lost it. Sorry, lost it. Let's see. Belle asks, "Are you enjoying Queensland?" Well, there's a good question.
Hey,
Regional
Belle, you're
question.
from Queensland, eh? You're from the Goldie, eh, Belle? I'm loving it here. It's really nice. Beautiful weather. The sun's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like,
You sound surprised.
yeah. And Adelaide doesn't come up till like 6:37, but yeah.
I'm surprised it comes up at all in Adelaide.
Oh, wow.
Rick mentions that Chuffed is a platform that's good for donations. Okay. Pete's wanting some more airtime there. I see. Now, Nicole says, "Oh my God,
Stop.
the little pig is too cute. Love your work, Joe." I should mention while we're talking about Pete the pig, next week I'll have a live pig on the show, and possibly 2 live pigs. So you'll want to be tuning in for that one next week. So Pete is a good forerunner to next week's episode.
Pete's not alive? Don't
Sorry.
listen. It's okay, don't listen.
We've got a little comedy routine now. This is good. Okay, where were we at? What is your, I've asked you the question, what is your favourite country to do activism in? Where have you felt most effective? Great question, Brian. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of something that happened. I used to work 3 days a week as a traffic controller, and I found that it sort of killed my momentum a bit. And what ended up happening is I went over to the UK for the vegan camp out, and that was when. And what happened is I was focused completely on activism there, and I met a bunch of people. My demographic was really big in the UK, so I had a lot of people who knew me. So it was really mind blowing, and I did a lot of activism focus on videos, and I was staying with James Aspey, and me and him worked really well together, and just 2 minds, together made a powerful team. And I got a lot done. I converted so many people, and I got so many messages. I'm an activist now. I'm vegan now. And so it was in the UK when it had the turnaround, and then when I come back, I was in my heart, I knew that I had to do this full time because. And that's.
And that was a few months ago, was it?
That was about 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Yes.
5 months ago.
Was there, just in relation to that, I caught a part of they had a big camp out thing or something, didn't they? Right, and you were part of that, and James was part of that, right? Was there some sort of real emotional moment or something that happened there? There was something.
Okay.
I didn't really get the full.
Okay, so what happened is it was an emotional weekend as it was.
Yes.
When you're around a lot of activists and they're all speaking from their heart, and you're speaking from your heart, and everyone's telling you their stories, and so there's a lot of emotion, and animals were the focus. So we had a group meditation, and James was saying some things about put your hands on the earth and send your love out to the, and then I was in the center of this massive circle.
Wow.
And he said, I want you to send your love out to all the animals, all the happy animals that are free, and all the animals that are suffering. I want you to open your hearts and send your love out to them. And I just become overwhelmed, and it might have been everyone's collective energy.
Yes.
And I started focusing on animals, and
and you just
suffering.
really felt the emotion.
I just couldn't help it. Yeah.
Which is quite powerful when there's a lot of people around.
I was in the center of this emotion circle. Took it all on.
Where do I run?
Don't sit in the middle next time.
You've learned from that one. Rick's going to crash his studio next week so that he can see the pig.
Yeah.
Christina asks, what would you like to see more of in the DXE space? What should DADU do next?
Direct action. DU?
Yeah,
down under.
Down under.
Direct action down under.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the acronym was.
I'm not really sure about that. I think with what I would incorporate into DXE is a bit of outreach.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do like a demonstration of disruption, have outreaches that are explaining, handing out cards, saying, hey, I don't know if they already do that, but I think when you do an action like that, it's important to explain to the public a little bit more as to why and as to how they can go on from there and make changes. Like hand out cards and say, hey, if this affected you and you care about animals but you still eat them, try Challenge 22 where you can do a vegan challenge, and then there's a bit more of an effect. But DXE, a lot of it isn't my personal style, what I like to do, but I would never tell anyone not to do it. But there's obviously improvements that could be made here and there.
I do want to ask a question in relation to that, because, and I'm glad you said in a way that you said it's not your personal style.
Yeah.
Because do you find it contradicts the approach of questioning people and getting them to think for themselves? Because DXE, it can be very in your face, and it's basically saying what you're doing is wrong in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So it depends, because DXE is it varies very much on the approach and what they're doing.
Yes.
So I think a disruption, when you go in and disrupt people in a mall where they're eating, or like in a restaurant, like when they're in this, it can create this negative vibe. But I think if it's done in a very clever way, a very polite way, and a very educational way, it could very well plant some seeds. Now, the thing is, these videos are what's making the difference. When it's filmed and it's going online and it's being spread across, that's where the impact is made more often than not. But I personally think if it's a little bit too cringy for me to watch, and I'm a animal rights activist, then a non-vegan, it's going to be way too much for them.
Right.
So like that's how I gauge it. But
what do you? Actually, I'll ask more questions on that later. But April asked advice on for vegans that don't want to do activism. So. Excuse me. Oh, I think I've drunk too much water.
Vegans that don't want to do activism?
Yeah. Do you have any advice?
Well, the thing is with that, I would say that your idea of what activism actually is might be a little bit different than what activism actually means. So the reason I say that is that people have this thing: you have to stop slaughterhouse trucks, meat is murder signs, you have to do speeches of. What activism is being proactive and utilizing the skills that you already possess. Okay, now be creative with that. It just means being proactive. Now, if you're a hairdresser, you can utilize your skills in animal rights as a hairdresser. You could be advocating to this person you've got in the chair for an hour in front of you, and you could be using cruelty-free products and explaining vegan products and explaining the importance of vegan products to them. You know, this is how you can utilize your skills. If you're an organizer, you're great at the computer and IT, you could be organizing, doing computer work for activists. If you're good with finances, you could be funding, you could be, there's many different ways you can be active. Now, don't have to be earthling it out there, stopping trucks, having massive debates with farmers. That is a form of activism and it's great. It's not the only form. So, and also another thing I want to add is you need perspective too. If you're vegan and you don't want to be active, and when, like James always says, when you have the privilege to know, you have the duty to act. And if you're neutral in times of injustice, you've chosen the side of the oppressor. And because you know what's happening to these animals, you have a responsibility then. If you've seen any other injustice on the side of the road, a dog being kicked, a woman being abused, you would intervene. Now, what is the difference with this? These animals, you know about what happens to them, and you're not going to intervene. You then become complicit in it.
Yes, yes.
So
that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yes, and Pete the Pig reminds Brady of Bella, and Bella is going to be on the show next week.
Bella's beautiful.
Yes, Bella's beautiful, and you will get
another reason why we should be doing activism. Little beautiful angels like Bella.
Exactly. Yeah. Should we?
And I found out Bella's actually a boy.
Yes, Bella is a boy.
But it's a girl's name because they didn't know at the start.
Because they didn't know at the start.
So Bella would be the equivalent.
Bella.
Bella means good.
Yes.
And Bella means good, but it's boy.
Okay. With an O at the end, is it?
Yeah.
Bella. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
I think.
And
correct me if I'm wrong.
and without wasting time, no, not wasting time, but without going in depth talking about Bello, you will have to tune in next week to find out Bella's story. Okay, now Amy says we need all forms of activism to cover all bases. That is true. And once again, I'm just going to say...
so true.
Yes. Yes.
So true. If we're all doing the same thing, we're not going to reach the same people. We all need different...
We all need different forms, that's right.
Can I get a hallelujah?
And Kim, Joey has already addressed your question, so let's move on from that. Now, Alyssa says, a couple of people have approached me to say I need to post less, talk less about animal abuse because it turns people off veganism. Okay. I find it hard to find positive things to post about veganism. I don't feel like health benefits and yummy recipes are enough.
What are my thoughts?
What are your thoughts?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things there, like being too hardcore can be a little bit off-putting. Okay, so that is true. Now you can incorporate some strategy into your posts, bring some people in with some food posts, and hey, this is delicious. Look at this beautiful vegan burger. Oh, yum! This is actually vegan, not grass and twigs. And then every now and then, oh, this is a bit about my lifestyle, and bang, you hit them with the gas chamber footage. You know, like you get them in, you lure them in with the trust, and then you boom, you hit them with it. But so that could be strategy, and that is still good for animals. I mean, just imagine if you're pushing all these people away with all this hectic stuff, which I'm not telling you not to do that, but incorporating strategy doesn't make you betraying any of the animals at all. It's just you're bringing in a different demographic. You're making people, like, you know, a bit more. It's a bit more yielding. And I know what you're saying, but you know, the health side of it can bring in a whole different demographic.
Exactly.
And then you can hit them with a little bit of underlying ethics. So it's all to do with strategy.
Why do you think it is that when you go hardcore, sometimes that pushes people away?
Yeah, it's too much too soon. It's too much too soon. Now me, I'm always, I don't know, I'm always an ethics-based activist. I always have been, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to do it that way. This is what's working for me. I mean, if what resonates best with you is like, you know, a lot of these Instagram girls have got hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're like, oh, look at this beautiful food.
Yes.
Brings people in, they see vegan, and then they might, some of these Instagram girls share my videos, and then they get the ethics. So it's all part of the same movement, but I agree, veganism is about animals, it's about ethics, but there's just lots of benefits and, you know, environment health that we can bring different demographics.
Would it be fair, so it would be fair to say that there are different approaches that work for different people?
100%.
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned the environmental aspect of it. I mean, we could turn around and say to people, hey, you're screwing the place that we're living in.
That's true, but the thing is, like, if you say that, okay, if you said that human slavery is wrong because it's bad for the environment, it's kind of like a little bit disrespectful to those victims. So veganism is about the animals, okay? Now, environment is going to shit, but the only reason the environment is important is because of the sentient beings' life it supports. That's why the environment's important. That's why the earth is important. So
yes, so we shouldn't forget what's important at the core.
The core is the sentient beings.
Yes,
that's why the environment is important. That's why our health is important. But
so, what would oh, okay. I love Lindy's question. Sorry, Lindy. How do you maintain your cool when someone is baiting you?
Okay, it depends on what situation.
Yeah.
There's time to ignore, which could be like if you looked at my page now, it's being really hammered by farmers and stuff like that. There's time to ignore.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So there's time to ignore, but it depends on how they're baiting me, and I use Socratic method to contradict them. Okay. And that's how. It depends what they say to me. Now, there are many different ways to take this question. It could be other activists baiting me. It could be other vegans saying things to trigger me. I always try to focus on the message and what's best for the animals. So if me going on some, getting triggered and blah, 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 unless it's channeled passion that is good for animals, then I'm willing to do that. But if it's something that's gonna, I'm an advocate now for animals. What I say, affects either them positively or them negatively. So I'm speaking for them and I advocate for them. So I want to be the most positive shining light I can be. So I always think of it from, the animal's perspective.
Excellent. And you can't please all the people all the time.
No.
I tried it once. It took too much energy. Ella says, how do you recharge after an activist event? That's a good question.
Activist events recharge me.
Brilliant answer. I didn't see that.
Now, it depends what type of activism you're doing. If you're doing a form of activism that's going to make you feel helpless, like there are forms of activism that can make you feel helpless, where you're focusing on suffering or like and then you're not doing anything as a reward. You're seeing animals suffer all the time. You're going out to protests where people are yelling at you and, you're not getting their reward. But then, like what I do, go to an anonymous for the voiceless type activism, convert a few people, open a few people's minds and hearts and get this amazing response, make a video where people are going vegan and, you need to have rewards in your activism, and that's what recharges you.
And do you find the Cuba Truths, they are really good?
The best.
Really.
Well, for me, because you see them transform right there in front of you.
Yes. What do you find? Have you noticed it when people come up and see the footage that people are seeing what's happening to the animals, right? And then maybe you're seeing it for the first time. How do you? Is there a general sort of response that that you get from people, or is it just so varied?
Well, the thing is, when they stop, this is the thing about anonymous for the voiceless. It filters out the people who aren't interested, and people who are interested stop.
Right.
So this is the good thing about it. They stop and they're watching and they're like, oh my God. Or they've been thinking about it and this is the last, I talk about the 100-point system.
Oh, yeah, go on. Yeah.
So you could be scrolling through your Facebook and see some footage about animals that would be 15 points, boom, of veganism.
Right.
Talking to me, you might be having lunch with someone and they've never heard about, or they've only seen that, and then you give them another 30 points with something that you say, and then boom, they stop at anonymous, they're already curious. And then you come up as an outreacher and you give them that last 50 points and they go, I'm going to go vegan. And it's just like, bang. So usually it's people are being astounded, they're shocked, they didn't know that happens. And it becomes very easy to navigate them through when they're shocked, I feel.
Yeah, and so you found good conversion from that?
Yeah, because it's very hard to argue with someone like, but I like the taste, and like when there's a screen with animals suffering, the justification seems so trivial that they don't even really want to go there. So it's a lot easier at Anonymous to have a debate with someone when the screen
when the reality is right
there.
It's the closest thing you could have to grabbing the person and taking them to a slaughterhouse. At which point they'd almost instantly want to go vegan if you could do that.
It's like if they had glass walls.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's essentially what it is.
Pip from Brisbane says, welcome to Queensland. Come and say hi. I'll cook you dinner if you visit Brisbane. That's a very nice...
I know Pip. Pip was from Adelaide.
Yeah.
Hey, Pip.
Yep. Pip's cool. Ella says that's how she feels about the Cuba Truth is my happy place. April says, when doing outreach, someone asked me how chickens are bred. I didn't know. What's the best way to expand your knowledge about the industries? Well,
the best way would be Aussie Farms Repository.
Which somebody was very quick. Which was very quick.
Oh, it's there.
Alyssa put that up there very quick. That's the best way. You've got your answer there, April, in the next comment.
And you know what? Do some dot points and learn about something. So say, okay, chickens. And then you do some dot points in your notepad and you read about the chickens, the same dot points every morning. You do that for about 3 or 4 days, and then you've essentially created a pathway of memory. And what you do next is you talk to your friend about it. You call your friend, you say, hey, you know what I learned about chickens? This. Egg-laying hens are killed at 18 months old. Baby chicks recognize each other as soon as they're hatched. Things like that. And then it reiterates it to yourself.
Yeah, reinforces it, doesn't it? Yeah, that is brilliant strategy.
Use it on your outreach. The next learn, then use it on your outreach, and it becomes part of your memory.
Wow, that is fantastic. That is really good. So you've travelled around the world a bit doing outreach in different places and that.
Yeah.
What are some of the somebody did ask earlier, but I'm going to get you to expand on that. Some of the highlights. I mean, your best one was recently in the UK, wasn't it? It's your personal favourite.
Okay, so the highlights recently for me would have been the first trip to the UK, but it was the second trip for the UK for me predominantly because it was 5,000 of us marching through London.
Wow.
And they closed down the London streets and people were looking out their windows and we were screaming for animal liberation and it was the most exhilarating feeling ever. And it's like, wow, the world is changing. And I spoke to 5,000 people and it gave me a real sense of knowing that the world is changing and it's inevitable. It is inevitable. And from there, me, Ed, and James all went to Israel for the largest animal rights march ever.
Ever. Yes.
Ever. And you should have seen
what were the numbers on that?
It was 25 to 30,000. Wow. They did an estimate. But you should have seen what it looked like from the sky. Okay? Now, when you're feeling hopeless and like things aren't changing, just look at the evidence.
Wow, that would be so empowering, wouldn't it?
Empowering, yeah.
So empowering.
Mate,
but why do you think, I've heard people ask this question before, why do you think it was so powerful and accepted in Israel, you think?
There are many factors, okay? There's fantastic organisations there. One's vegan friendly and you got the ALF there. And what happened is Gary Yourofsky had 2 tours there, okay?
Right.
The activists there helped his speech go viral. Okay, and it went viral over there. Every second person has heard of Gary's speech or seen Gary's speech. Right. There was a lot of media coverage with Gary on the media. Okay, they didn't hide this message from the media, so a lot of people.
Mainstream media.
Mainstream media. Tal Gilboa was on Big Brother, and she's an animal rights activist, and she won Big Brother, and she was talking about animal rights on TV.
Okay, that's good.
She used her money to fund activism.
Wow.
So there's a lot of that.
That's fantastic.
Also, the activists over there are amazing.
Okay, so there's a huge movement there. What changes has that brought about there in relation to the animals themselves?
Okay. Well, the thing is, 4 years ago in Israel, there was 50,000 vegans. 4 years later, there's 400,000. So the exponential growth, I think, is an indicator of how it will grow worldwide. I think that's what happens with snowball effect.
Yes.
You know, the tipping point comes and it just explodes, and that's what's happening now.
That's right. So, are we seeing any changes in the treatment of animals here, maybe in relation to laws to how animals are treated, or a reduction in animal consumption? Anything you're aware of happening there?
Well, the fact that there's 400,000
is obviously reducing consumption.
A massive impact.
A
you can go into a little convenience store there, and there's vegan Ben and Jerry's in the fridge there, and you're just like, what the hell?
You don't expect it.
No.
Ivan says you're a legend. Lindy says, I find the most frustrating thing is when someone says they just like the taste of meat and they don't care how it is killed.
Okay. Yeah. The thing is, apathy is a bit hard to argue, but I always find that their apathy isn't genuine because you could say, if someone says they don't care about animals, you could always ask them if they have a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then you've got them, and you go, okay, what if I ate your dog? And they're like, oh no, that's my dog, I love that animal. Okay, what's the difference between a dog and a pig? Boom, you've got them. So you can question them through that too.
Have you noticed that people become defensive when you mention their pets and that, and you say, well, what if I eat your dog? I've come across this before.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they do.
When it's personal, they become quite defensive.
They can. You got to be clever though. Tactful.
Tactful, yes.
Keep a smile on your face.
Smiling face, respectful.
Respectful.
Of course, respectful and tactful. Pip says, way to go, Israel. That's amazing. Why do you think such a growth there? Well, I think we've answered that. You've answered that quite well. Ella says, do you think it would be worth trying to ask police in Australia to let us stop the trucks at an animal save so we can let them be seen?
Well, that's very dependent on the state you're in, what save group you're a part of, even who the police are that day. Sort of well, it depends on whether you've got an agreement with the police, with the slaughterhouse. There's many different factors, and it's dependent on different things. So maybe Ella inbox the save movement. But yeah, it depends on where you are, what state. It's too hard to answer. There's too many variables.
Yes. Okay. Ivan asks, how do you deal with not getting angry? We sort of covered that a little bit before, I think.
Okay, so the thing about getting angry is you respond, you don't react. So when someone says something, like let's just say someone says something really insensitive, they don't know that you've just bared witness inside a slaughterhouse or stopped a truck or just watched something really horrific on. They don't know that.
Yes.
So I think you have to have a level of understanding that, hey, they might have said something insensitive because they just don't understand. And also, if someone says something triggering, you let that emotion, you feel that emotion, and you let it pass, and you respond logically. You don't have a knee-jerk reaction and just go, that. Because that won't help.
It will not help at all.
No.
It will. It'll only get there
And
back.
they feel it. Even if you start to get a little bit like,
Yeah.
unless the body language calls for that, and it's like really, it's good energy, and you're getting up there. If not, they can feel your annoyance. They can feel that negative energy. So it's a wise thing. It's better for the animals that you contain your emotions. It really is.
Definitely, and that is the core goal again, isn't it? The primary goal.
If I wanted, if it was for me, I would love to be aggressive and swear. I used to all the time. Like I've got to delete some of my old videos, but that was what I wanted. That's what other activists want to see me do, vent. But that's not what's best for the animals.
Right, exactly right.
Yeah.
Lindy said, Lyndon says, good evening. Good evening, Lyndon, how are you? Lindy says, recently I argued with a friend about her love of crab meat. It's hard to relate that creature's suffering to them. She doesn't have any pets, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit more difficult because the anthropomorphic gap is larger between us and sea life. But that doesn't mean that they have any less moral value. And it can be a little bit more difficult to argue, but it's unnecessary to do that to crabs. I mean, and there's science out there about shellfish and then how much they feel pain. There's something with lobsters they did recently.
Yes.
And there's a reason why they put them in there's a reason why they put them in the freezer first before they boil them, because they're admitting that boiling them while they're conscious is immoral. Okay, so this is like chefs do that now.
Okay.
I
didn't know that.
And then they stab the lobster to kill them quickly. Why would they want to kill them quickly if lobsters and crabs can't suffer or feel pain or aren't sentient?
Good point. Yeah. So, juicy thick. That's a good comment. Juicy thick legs. I don't even know. Maybe that's in relation.
How is that relevant?
I have no idea what that's in relation. Unless you're looking at mine.
It might be.
Yes, there's a few comments come up there. I'm not even sure.
Might have been from my page, the angry ones.
Okay. Ivan loves watching your YouTube vids. Good on you, Ivan. So where to now for you, Joey?
For me?
Yeah. What's coming up?
I'm going to be here for the next week, and there's a few activism events here. And then from here I go to Adelaide, and then from Adelaide I go to Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
To help the activist scene over there, and there is an activist scene there, which is amazing.
Yes. Wow.
And then Spain, UK, Scotland.
UK again?
Oh, so London, Manchester, Newcastle, Scotland.
And you'll be speaking at these places, I guess?
I'll be putting in as much as I can.
So before you became an activist, have you done any public speaking previous? No. So how did you find that? Did you sort of work up to it, or did you sort of get straight in the deep end?
I was on YouTube a lot, so I was learning how to speak, and I think if you've got enough passion, conviction, and fire in your heart, it just comes naturally. It just comes out. It's just like you need to say it.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
You put everything else aside.
Yeah.
This is why I'm doing it, and I need to say this.
Yep. Alyssa asks, have you seen the current idea floating around about us all converting to eating crickets? Oh, God, some ideas are amazing.
Unnecessary.
I find people refuse to entertain insects are sentient.
It's just
they're sentient.
It's
not even debatable.
It's just unnecessary.
To
eat. Why? Why are we still reaching for something creepy, crawly to eat? Like.
Yeah. Is it? Do you think that's people's meat and dairy or animal addiction still? They still want.
They think they need to eat crickets and for protein or something. They just don't understand plants have everything we need.
Exactly.
It's just bizarre.
Exactly. Danny says you are a legend. A lot of people are saying you are a legend. What about?
Thank you.
What about Pete?
What about Pete?
What about Pete?
No, Pete knows I'm a legend.
but people know that Pete's a legend. Okay. Question there. Ivan says a vegan TV show would be great. I've had this idea for ages. There is actually a vegan MasterChef TV show, Ivan. I'll try and find the link, and it's on Facebook. If you Google it, you will find it. It's actually been going for about 5 years, believe it or not, but it's not well publicised. I don't know why.
Pork industry have a bit of thing to do with that, I think.
April says, will you be in Adelaide when the bull riding is happening at the entertainment centre?
I am not.
No, you won't.
I am. I don't think I am.
No.
I think that's soon. I think I'll be here.
And apparently, I'm a legend as well. Thank you. It had to happen eventually. When you get old enough, it happens. You become a legend. It's just natural. It's by
Legends
default.
in the making, mate.
That's it. Okay, so guys, we're going to be winding up in about 5 minutes. So if you've got any other questions you want to throw them in before Joey disappears. So whilst you've been on the coast, you've been on the coast and in Brisbane, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yep. So have you checked out some of our? I want to get to my favourite topic: vegan restaurants.
Oh,
have you checked out?
so important. So important.
It is. Well, you know, it's a way that's actually increasing awareness.
100%.
It is, isn't it?
Very valuable activism to veganise your restaurant or to create vegan options. So valuable.
Yeah.
This is what keeps people vegan and keeps people from eating animals. So I went to Sarah Bar for a smoothie bowl.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
eh?
I did an Instagram post about it if you want to read the description of it. It was quite juicy.
Did you get a chance to check out Greenhouse Canteen, my favourite?
No, I haven't, but I should. I went to Mandala's.
Oh, yes.
Mandala's?
Good.
Yeah, great. They brought me out a beautiful, so it was a dragon fruit sort of smoothie bowl thing.
Yeah.
I'm into the smoothie bowls lately, if you can't tell.
I wouldn't
Also,
never.
there's a
What
dessert,
what does Pete eat?
peach, everything vegan.
Everything vegan.
Nothing but
Good.
veganism. There was a dessert place that made me a beautiful birthday cake.
A dessert place
Yeah.
that made you.
What was the dessert place called?
Um,
And they do pies and cakes.
You're not talking about Flower Life Bakery.
Flower Life Bakery.
Okay, and they made you a birthday
Birthday cake.
Did you have a
I said
birthday?
happy birthday, Joey.
When was your birthday?
26th of November. And I was waiting. I was waiting for your message. I didn't get one. I was like, oh, it's all day. Where's Harry's message?
That was
So offended.
That was Sunday.
Yeah, it was.
Happy birthday.
Oh, a bit late now, mate. Trying to redeem himself. I don't know about this. What do you reckon, Pete? No.
I'm well practiced at digging myself out of holes.
Unacceptable, mate.
There's a question there asking what sort of activism are you doing while you're here on the coast?
So I do a lot of online activism.
Yeah.
Hours worth of editing. Street activism. Today we were out there with some pigs helping people make the connection on the street. We've done vigils, slaughterhouse shutdowns, TV. Done TV interview with the news, and just edit.
Yes,
edit.
Can we talk about what you were doing today? Can we expand on that, or is that something we can't talk about? At the moment?
Let's just say we're helping people make the connection.
Good. That'll become publicly available later.
Pete may have been involved.
Yeah, Pete may
or
have been
those
involved,
like
yes.
Pete's brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Kirsty asked a good question there. Do you do anything to nurture yourself, such as yoga and meditation, etc.?
Okay, so I think being aware of balance is key, but right now what I love doing and what gives me the most satisfaction is kicking goals for animals and getting people to sign up for Challenge 22. I was just like, yes, that's amazing, but I eat really healthy, lots of smoothie bowls, lots of fruit, keep nourished, and I don't do yoga or meditation, but I know there's benefits there, but I'm pretty chill. Anyway. But my type of meditation is out there talking to people about veganism and getting them to like unravel that cognitive dissonance, and then they're like, wow, thanks for opening my eyes. Yeah, I will try the challenge.
So
and that there's just like,
when you're doing that and somebody says, oh man, this is wow, you've sort of thank you and I'm going to go vegan when they say that, right? Do you ever get any feedback later where they come back later and say, hey, I spoke to you or you spoke to me a month ago and I've been vegan since then?
the thing is, I get messages every single day.
From people.
Wow, you turned me vegan, I'm an activist because of you.
Fantastic.
Police officers messaging me saying, Joey, thank you for making this video where you're doing outreach with the police because I can show it to the other officers and I get bullied at my workplace, but I'm really glad you're speaking up. I've had a police officer who messaged me saying that he's been vegan for 10 years and he's really proud of me to turn my life around, and now I'm advocating for justice, real justice. So I get messages every single day, and I can't keep up with them, so that's an indicator that what you're doing is working.
Oh, definitely. When are you going back to the UK? You did mention you're going back, but when was it? Christmas time?
I'll be there Christmas.
Christmas time.
So get ready.
Yeah. Christmas, get ready, UK. I should do it in the announcer's voice or something. He's coming back to the UK this Christmas.
Bam.
Thank you. That was beautifully connected. Very well done. And Ivan suggested you should do meditation, and I'll second that.
Probably should, definitely.
Yeah, take a leaf out of James's book.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Even though I taught him everything he knows, but he would never admit that.
You guys are good. You guys are good. Now, I reckon this show could go on forever, but we're going to have to start winding up because I call it the Vegan Hour for a reason.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So, was it before I start winding up? Was there anything you'd like to share that we haven't sort of discussed? Anything?
If you're not yet vegan,
Mm.
do some education. Maybe challenge 22 and have to give it a try, and maybe you can stay vegan. If you're not yet an activist, think of the animals and have that perspective, and get involved in some positive activism. Utilize your skills, and that would be the message that I would always promote. Till I die.
Beautiful. And till you die, beautiful.
Yeah.
And Pete seconds that as well.
Pete's down.
He definitely is. So I will say there was a lot of comments tonight. There was quite a few that we probably missed. They went through so fast. So if we can get to them later, we will try. I don't know how you. I mean, you can always, try if you've got the time. But I know you're a busy.
You're killing me here, mate.
And I'll see what I can do as well, because apparently I get busy as well. Okay. So I want to say thank you very, very much.
I had a really good time, mate. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was great. And I want to say thank you to everyone that's commented, and that it's been fantastic. And Lee's saying they're good to meet you in Brisbane last week. So yeah, it's been really, really awesome to have you on the show. I just want to mention next week for episode 42 that we have another pig on. I was about to say a real pig, but Pete's a real pig. We have another pig. I mentioned it earlier. We have Bella on, and we may have 2 pigs. We'll see how we go. So you're going to be hearing the story of Bella, and that's from who we got. We've got vegan vet Rich Seymour. So he's going to be with us, and we've also got Kelly from Sugar Shine. So that's next week's episode 42. Looks like lots of comments and likes and all that coming through at the end there. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us for episode 41 of the Vegan Hour. This episode will be on YouTube by tomorrow night, if it all goes according to plan. Until then,
catch us later.
Yeah, live vegan and save lives. Good night, everyone.